So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Ms. Kennedy, can we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Hunterlaw. Mr. Burning,
Present.
Ms. Braun,
Present.
Mr. Hunterlaw,
Present.
and Mr. Dan Burning is excused.
Next, I would ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first thing that we have on our agenda this evening is a promotional recognition for Randy Miller, who has been promoted to be our new fire chief here at Springfield Township. And I believe we have a presentation.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Honorlaw. It's been the last year and a half has been a pretty busy year, as everybody knows, with the fire department, with a lot of retirements, a lot of hiring, a lot of opportunities for promotions. But I think just in the last 18 months, none bigger than the fact that the fire department had 2 retirements of their chiefs. Chief Leininger about a year and a half ago, and then just recently Chief Bro. And I think a credit to them, what they've accomplished with that fire department over the years that it's been in existence, is that we've been seamlessly been able to fill those spots, rehire with a lot of new employees coming in with the reputation that we've had, and then the development of all of our leaders in the fire department has been great to fill those supervisory spots that have been vacant. But tonight we'd like to recognize Chief Randy Miller on his promotion. Randy has been with the fire department a long time. So for those of you who don't know Randy, I'd like to just highlight some of the accomplishments and involvement that he's been with the Springfield Township Fire Department over the years. So Randy's been with the Springfield Township Fire Department for the past 27 years. He has his bachelor's degree in fire and safety engineering from the University of Cincinnati, and his master's degree in safety, security, and emergency management from Eastern Kentucky University. He was promoted to the rank of fire lieutenant in December of 2002 and to captain in 2023. Randy has provided instruction and overseen the Springfield Township Fire Training Program, our Fire Prevention Division, the Juvenile Fire Setters Intervention Program, and supports the development, improvement, and coordination of our department's emergency operation plan. He's the department's representative for the Hamilton County Fire Chiefs Regional Operation Center. His leadership and influence over the years has gone far beyond his duties here in Springfield Township. He served as the EMA director for local communities and is a lead instructor for Cincinnati State Technical and Community College. His commitment to service is not just here at work, but even during his off time. He's volunteered for other local fire departments and with the American Red Cross over the years, assisting them in local emergency medical services as a leader of their disaster team for local natural disasters and fire incidents. Randy's demonstrated over the years through his leadership and commitment to our community to be very deserving of this promotion. So please join in me congratulating Chief Randy Miller as the 3rd Springfield Township Fire Chief. Congratulations.
I would just like to thank the board, Mr. Gilbert, Mr. Blythe, for giving me this opportunity to be a fire chief. It was truly an honor the other night. We swore about 5 of us in, and that was truly an honor to be part of that. Looking forward to working with all of you and all the firefighters as we move forward to provide an outstanding service to the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Randy. If the trustees could come down so we can get a picture with the new chief.
Sure. There's a charge for that.
Somebody charges you guys to take a picture with him?
I feel like we had this promotion like 3 times.
I know.
So sorry that I missed the other night. Right. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Wonderful. 3, 2, 1. Fabulous.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Congratulations, Randy.
You're right.
Next thing on the agenda this evening is approval of minutes from our regular session, which was held on May 14th, 2024, and our regular work session on May 28th, 2024. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, we have the fiscal officer's report. Ms. Kennedy, can you give us a report?
Actually, Mr. Harnelaw,
Or you got-
apologize. Due to
Sorry.
some travel and other unforeseen circumstances, we do not have a prepared fiscal officer report tonight. As you are aware, and obviously due to his absence, Mr. Burning, the other Mr. Burning is traveling out of the country, and we were unable to finalize a fiscal officer report prior to his departure. And then previous to that, our actual fiscal officer was traveling out of state. So rest assured that the financials are in good operating order and everything is up to date. We just haven't had a chance to finalize that fiscal officer report with the actual fiscal officer prior to his leaving the country. So we will have a report in July, and it will include both the June and July report, but as of tonight, no report for May.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Next, moving on to departmental action discussion items. Do we have some action and discussion items, Mr. Gilbert?
Yes. First, we have an action item to set the date and time for the 2025 tax budget. It's unbelievable that we're actually already here already. I feel like we just did the tax budget for 24. But we are preparing the tax budget and actually have prepared the tax budget for 25. And as the board is aware, what the tax budget does, it's one of the statutorily required processes for our budget process, which, as you again are aware, the actual tax budget shows the actuals from the previous 2 years. It shows the actual from the first half of this year, as well as the estimated actuals for the latter half of this year, and then it shows the projections for the following year. That budget essentially allows us, it's a planning tool that allows us to map out exactly what the expenditures and revenues will be going forward. As you know, we're generally fairly conservative in those numbers. And then statutorily, it allows the Budget Commission at the county to authorize our tax levies and shows that we are in fact in need of the revenue that those tax levies generate based on the projected expenditures that we're showing. So we will have that hearing, and we'll go over that. What I'm proposing is to set that date and time for 5:30 p.m. at our next regular meeting of July 9th.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And then before I move into the personal update, obviously there's a few resolutions on the agenda tonight, and I think it bears mentioning that resolutions 51 through 53 are related to road improvement projects that we're hoping to receive funding for 25. That is through SORTA. That is our Transportation Improvement Fund. And we have applied for 3 different projects totaling just under $4 million. And we are seeking 90% of that cost to be generated through the SORTA grant. So hopefully we can get roughly $4 million in projects done in 25 here in the township and only cost the township taxpayers roughly $400,000. So we'll see. We've been fairly successful in the past receiving those grants, so hopefully we'll be able to get those. We should know by the end of the year, I would think, so that we can plan for 25. Additionally, resolutions 55 through 58 are related to a statutorily required process that we have to go through if we have any plans to put a issue on the ballot. So as we've discussed in previous meetings, the fire department, the fire district levy that was passed in 2020 is nearing the end of its useful life, given the staffing demands as well as the equipment and infrastructure demands that we've experienced in the fire department. We're in need of additional revenue to maintain a continuity of service that the residents expect from the fire department. So we have to ask the county auditor to certify various millage amounts for us to do some planning to determine what revenue will be adequate for us through our projections to get us another 5, 6, possibly 10 years of operating revenue for the fire department. So we've prepared 4 different resolutions asking for 4 different amounts just to see where it comes back. And I think the odd part about that process is we really only need to ask for 1, and then we can do the math ourselves. I mean, it's not that difficult, but the problem is if you have any plans on putting any amount of levy on the ballot, you have to ask by resolution for each millage amount specifically in separate resolutions. It's kind of an archaic, weird way of doing it, but that's why there's so many resolutions on the ballot. It'd be simpler if we could just say, how much revenue will 1 mill generate? And then leave it at that and let us do the math, what we actually asked for. But that's not how the process works. So that's why there's 4 resolutions on there. And then once we get those numbers back, we'll be able to do the projections based on that revenue amount and determine if we're actually going to go out for a fire levy in November, and if so, how much. So that's what those resolutions are on there for. And so with that, I will move on to the personnel update. And it looks like it's not a terribly busy update, but in the fire department, as Mr. Bly indicated, we did have several promotions as well as some hiring. So we did have Ashley Eller hired as a full-time paramedic firefighter. We did have, actually it was a promotion because she was 1820, I believe, right? Yes. And then we did have the promotion of Jeremy Kinman to a captain. We had the promotion of Jason Eckhoff as a lieutenant, and then obviously we had the promotion of Mr. Miller as our new fire chief. So we did have the resignation of Luke Hornback as a part-time EMT firefighter, and then retirement, as we mentioned, of Rick Bro from the position of fire chief. In the police department, we had the new hire of Zach Thrawn and the new hire of Corey. I'm going to butcher this last name. What is it, Chief? Haneke. So
Pretty simple.
yeah, it seems to be. So that, I think, once those 2 hires brings us to actually we've filled all of our vacant positions in the police department, correct?
2 more, but yeah, we got 2 more conditional offers that are out there that we're in the background stages of it. So yes, we're getting there.
All right. I think, as you can tell, based on some of the promotions and hirings we've done, both police and fire, over the last few months, it's been a tough job market out there for us to bring on qualified people to staff those vacant positions. But we've done a good job of bringing in laterals, and I think we have a good mix of experience as well as new people to the profession. So, in the Public Works Department, we did have the hiring of 2 seasonal labor positions, Gage Starrett as well as Kyle Bill, as seasonal labor positions. And then in the Arts and Community Center, we had the new hire of Shauna Green, Diana Wood, Dawn Jansen, and Brittany Tresker. Is that correct, Kim?
Sounds right.
Okay. And then we had the resignation of Coco Dean as a bartender from the Grove. I think that does it. And believe it or not, that was not a typically busy month. We've had much busier ones in this actually spring and early summer. In the Arts Center, I'm going to now turn it over to Kim Flam for community events and programs.
Thank you. This Friday is our annual Touch a Truck event. This is our 12th year of doing this, and the program will go from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. And then we have 2 concerts this summer. We have renovated the entire backside of the Arts Center. It's quite an environment to have a smaller concert. The first one is going to be June 20th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. with Rocky Peter, and then we'll have a second concert on July 18th from 6 to 9 p.m. with Rob Benton and K Rush. They're in a group called Key West Kings, coming from Key West, Florida.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
The board has copies of the departmental activity reports, so unless there are any questions of those.
Kim, is there a reason why you moved the concerts to Thursday instead of Friday? I'm just wondering.
For these 2
Get 'em here?
musicians that we have, they're on a tour, and it just ended up working that Thursday nights worked for them to be in the Cincinnati area.
That's
One's
fine.
coming from California, and one's coming from Florida. So I expect that next year we'll probably move back to Fridays.
I just wondered.
Yeah.
I think also what we found too is Fridays typically are busy with kids, with families and sporting events and all those kind of things. So, but we'll see.
Exactly. Okay. With that then, we have quite a few resolutions here this evening. The first one is Resolution Number 50, 2024, authorizing the use of electronic signatures by public officials in Springfield Township where the use of such signature is pursuant to Revised Code Chapter 1306 and necessary to ensure the timely and efficient operation of township business. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. Braun?
Aye.
Mr. Honderlaw?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have Resolution Number 51, 2024, a resolution authorizing Christopher Gilbert, Township Administrator, Chief Executive Officer, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Transit Infrastructure Program and to execute contracts as required for the Spring Dew Lane and Butterfly Court improvement projects. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. Braun?
Aye.
Mr. Honderlaw?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have Resolution Number 52, 2024, a resolution authorizing Christopher Gilbert, Township Administrator, Chief Executive Officer, to prepare and submit an application to participate in Transit Infrastructure Program and to execute contracts required for the Seven Hills Improvement Project. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. Braun?
Aye.
Mr. Honderlaw?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, Resolution Number 53, 2024, a resolution authorizing Christopher Gilbert, Township Administrator, Chief Executive Officer, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Transit Infrastructure Program and execute contracts as required for the Kirkland, Burgundy, and Colette Improvements Project. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. Braun?
Aye.
Mr. Honderlaw?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have Resolution Number 54, 2024, authorizing the filing of an application pursuant to Revised Code 2981.12 and Revised Code 3719.11 to authorize the destruction of property in the possession of the Springfield Township Police Department that has been unclaimed, lost, abandoned, stolen, forfeited, or otherwise lawfully seized. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. Braun?
Aye.
Mr. Honderlaw?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have Resolution Number 55, 2024, requesting county auditors certify the current tax valuation by the township and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by an additional 2.9 mill levy to provide funds for the fire equipment, salaries, and related costs for the Springfield Township Fire District pursuant to Section 5705.19I of the Ohio Revised Code. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. Braun?
Aye.
Mr. Honderlaw?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have Resolution Number 56, 2024, requesting the county, I feel like I'm a,
Repeat. You're on
just
repeat.
put me on repeat. Requesting the county auditor to certify the current tax valuation of the township and the dollar amount of revenue that could be generated by an additional 3.5 mill levy to provide funds for the fire equipment, salaries, and related costs for the Springfield Township Fire District pursuant to Section 5705.19I of the Ohio Revised Code. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. Braun?
Aye.
Mr. Honderlaw?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is Resolution Number 57, 2024, requesting the county auditor to certify the current tax valuation of the township and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by an additional 3.9 mill levy to provide funds for fire equipment, salaries, and related costs for the Springfield Township Fire District pursuant to Section 5705.19 19I of the Ohio Revised Code. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. Braun.
Aye.
Mr. Honderlaw.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is Resolution Number 58, 2024, requesting county auditor to certify the current tax valuation of the township and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by an additional 4.25 mil levy to provide funds for fire equipment, salaries, and related costs for the Springfield Township Fire District pursuant to Section 5705.19I of the Ohio Revised Code. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. Braun.
Aye.
Mr. Honderlaw.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have Resolution Number 59, 2024, declaring nuisances pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.87 at various listed properties within Springfield Township and authorizing statutory actions necessary to abate the nuisances. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. Braun.
Aye.
Mr. Honderlaw.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
And finally, we have Resolution Number 60, 2024, establishing assessment for abatement of nuisance and certifying the same to the Hamilton County Auditor. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. Braun. I had one job.
Yeah.
Ms.
Aye.
Braun.
Aye.
Mr. Honderlaw.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Okay. Do we have any old business before the board this
I do
evening?
not.
Any new?
I do not.
Do not.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to citizens' participation. And if we haven't put our citizens asleep out here with all those resolutions, if anyone would like to address the board, we would ask that you come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and tell us what you're here to talk about.
Well, my name's Diana Herbie. I actually live in Forest Park, 744 Decatur Court. And I'm smiling out here because I'm very familiar with the kind of things you're doing, having served on the council out there for 16 years. But I'm here this evening in the role as the new chair of Waycross Community Media Programming Board. Joe Orndorff, who served in that position for 42 years since Waycross was started, finally decided to retire. And I just wanted to remind you that Waycross is your local provider of public access programming. It covers governmental programs like covering your meetings and educational programs covering a lot of the football games and basketball games and track and et cetera. And also public access programming covers a lot of your events and covers programming created by residents and citizens of our communities, and invite you to continue looking to us for those kinds of services. You can contact Dana Gagnon, who took over from Chip Berquist when he retired last year. And the governmental access new person doing that when Dana was promoted is Kurt Radel. Some of you may have met him. And you can contact Waycross at 825-2429, or you can contact them by email at info@waycross.org. So we're there and available to you for services to you and your communities.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Thank you.
that. Yes,
Thank
thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Larry Thompson, 1309 Obit Avenue, and I'm here to thank the trustee, the board, and also Mr. Scott Scardine, the Public Works Director. There was a concern in the community that, I called and asked about, getting it taken care of. And he came and took care of it, and it let us know that it wouldn't be any cost to the residents. So I really appreciate the board, and we would also like to be included in some of your infrastructure programs. So I want to say thank you personally, and he did a great job for us.
Well, Mr. Thompson,
Thank you for
very
coming,
much.
Yes.
going to all the trouble
We
to come here
appreciate
and
it.
tell us
Yeah,
that.
All right.
we
Thank-
sincerely appreciate it.
Mr. Thompson, it's not often we have people actually come to this meeting and actually express gratitude for service we provide. So hopefully you'll understand our enthusiasm. We say thank you for coming because, unfortunately, it isn't as common as it should be. But we do appreciate you taking the busy time out of your day and coming and doing that. It means a lot to us, so thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Joni Williams. I previously resided at 8032 Colette Lane, currently 6446 Gulfway Drive. I have an issue that is sensitive in nature, and it involves the difficulty that I had in simply getting an accurate police report documented for an assault that took place in my home when I was brutally beaten. And what I received from the police department was actually 2 sentences of definitely the experience that I shared in my home that night. It stated that I had someone in my home and I was tossed. I was physically assaulted in my home in May of 2020. There were 4 attempts made to simply have a police report produced. My experience during the overnight was as followed. I owned an older model non-smart television I decided to trash and removed it from my home at the residence on Colette Lane. First, I moved it to the front porch. Realizing it was trash, I moved it to the curb. Hours later, I heard voices outside. I looked out the window and saw 4 to 5 females standing around this television. I opened the door to take a closer look, then I closed the door and returned to the position of lying on my sofa to sleep. These events took place between the hours of 2 and 6 a.m. in the morning. I was actually fully dressed lying on my sofa in the living room. I described the outfit I wore. Someone then entered my home illegally and began attacking me by picking me up, throwing me down on my glass-top coffee table that didn't break. It just simply flipped over. The next thing I know, I'm picked up and thrown across the room, maybe 10 feet, closer to the openings to the bedroom. And as I'm trying to turn my head to visualize and see who this is, I wasn't able to do that. I was rendered unconscious by being clobbered over my head again. The next thing I experienced is lying face up in my bed, covers pulled up over my head. Now, before that, these people had undressed me and put me in a nightgown. I was fully dressed earlier that evening, just laying on my sofa, sleeping like I do sometimes. So I'm in bed with the covers up to my neck, my arms under the cover. Someone is straddling my torso with my arms locked between their thighs, beating me, pounding me in my face. I don't know how long this went on because I was rendered unconscious. As I'm trying to blink my eyes and open to see who this is, I can't do that. So the next morning when I get up, I call the police department. 2 officers respond to my home. They spent a total of, and it's documented here, 8 minutes there. I was not offered a form to fill out for a victim statement. I, waited a couple days. I went to the police department. I said, well, let me pick up the police report. And what I got again was 2 sentences that said, I had someone in my home and I was tossed. That's not what happened to me. That was not my experience. That's not what I told them. So I had tried writing the statement that I have here typed to offer to them, to show them, what my experience was. Still, no police report was produced that accurately documented my experience, and even whether I had injuries or not from that assault, which I did. 2 days later, I found myself in the emergency room with angioedema. My face was swollen to this extent. It was during the time of the pandemic, so I had to call the hospital, make sure I could drive over if it was okay for me to come to the emergency room. I felt as if I had been injected with something in my right butt cheek. And I know because I'm a nurse and there's a large hardened area there if someone inaccurately injects you with a needle. I wrote a statement, again, took it to the police department, thought I would see a police report produced. I did not. I came back on another occasion, attempting again to get the police report produced accurately. I did not. I finally called Women Helping Women and asked them to send someone to escort me to the police department. Maybe this would be effective. They did send a Caucasian woman with me, and only at that point in that time was I handed that form to fill out to complete my victim's portion for a police report. Not as I singularly stood by myself there on 3 attempts to get that done. I'm just devastated, actually, because now at this time I go back, I say, well, let me follow up and get a copy of the produced police report. My name is Joni. It says Joanne Williams stated that during the overnight hours on 4/24, I didn't call the police on 4/24. She recalls being tossed around her living room by an unknown subject. She stated that she doesn't remember anything beyond that other than waking up in her room the next day. That's not what I just said. Her front door was not locked. She added that she had some head wounds, but they were not visible. If you don't take time to stand there and let me point those out to you, of course you're going to say they weren't visible. As I sat with the young lady in the interview room, I'm going to call it, with 3 representatives from the police department sitting across she and I wore actually a wig. I pulled it off to show them. I mean, if you don't want to take time to look at my head wounds, how can we document it? She also stated that there were stains on her bed she thought could be semen. They appeared to be only oil substances. The police officers, when they arrived to my home, I pointed out to them that, hey, there's something, on my bed. They shined a flashlight on it, told me, well, that's not semen. I'm going to take your word for it because you're a man. I don't know. But still to date, I have made trips back to the police department saying, okay, well, let me see if anything manifested from my efforts to simply get an accurately documented police report of my experience of being attacked in my home. Nothing. It doesn't state here anywhere where I told them I was beaten in my face. I don't appreciate that. That is a disservice to any woman who lives alone who's attacked in her home. No one can describe my experience better than I. No one.
Ms. Williams, I mean, obviously, incredibly sorry to hear that. What you're describing in terms of your interaction with our police department is, incredibly uncommon. So the best I can do is try and figure out who you spoke to. Also, I think here tonight we have the police chief and Mr. Niehaus, as well as our Director of Safety Services and Mr. Bly.
Well, I have called and spoke with Sandy, supposedly the secretary, to schedule an appointment to actually speak with them. I never got return calls.
Okay.
Nope, not a one.
Well, I think the good news is every call that's, comes in our police department is recorded.
Well, I've actually driven there and said, please can I?
Every interaction is actually recorded via video and audio, so we can go back and make sure, that everything is being documented properly. But I don't know, Mr. Rick, it looks like you have.
No, I just, I apologize if that's the way you feel that the service and the investigation went. Rest assured, we'll make sure we can document and provide you the resources that you need, and we can to try to figure out what happened.
Recently, back in March, I was actually reassaulted. I came to the police department with photographs and asked, can I fill out a police report? The officer responded and told me, well, if I actually don't know who did this to me, they can't help me. I said, oh, okay.
Well, we'll meet with you after the meeting, and we'll make sure we get the information so we can properly document what some of your concerns and make sure you have the resources available to you.
This happened in 2020?
Yes, it did.
I mean, if you have a problem like that in the future, if you could come to us right away so we can rectify and make sure that, that doesn't happen to somebody else or to you again with our officers, that would be helpful.
Okay.
So, I mean, because...
Well, actually, I took another course, and I wrote the Department of Justice. to inquire about being discriminated against or how
You're
that
always
affected my
welcome here.
civil rights. Yeah.
We'll get to the bottom of it, find out what happened.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Thank you
coming.
for coming.
Thank you for
We
sharing your
appreciate
story.
it. Yes.
It's very brave.
Is there anyone else here that would like to address the board this evening? It appearing that there is not, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Seconded?
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.